After publishing the Roborock Revo review, I'll start a new series comparing it to other do-it-all Roborock options. Starting with the S8 Pro Ultra, the current flagship. I'll do another video comparing it to the S7 Max V Ultra, so stand by for that video coming soon. There's a considerable price difference between these options, and we'll see if the technology Roborock squeezed into the S8 Pro Ultra is worth that added premium. I've organized this video into categories to help consumers better understand the intricacies of these robot vacuums, including the test results that could sway your decision to either option. I've spent many hours testing these robot vacuums to get the data needed for this comparison. There's a lot to unpack, so let's get into it. The Revo and S8 Pro Ultra are two of Roborock's latest releases at different price brackets, each with varying levels of technology. The S8 Pro Ultra is the current flagship, armed with the latest features, namely the Viberize feature with 2 vibrating elements, enabling it to be more efficient at mopping stains. The Revo fills the mid-price void, offering consumers a cheaper alternative with pad washing and self-emptying features, without a 4-figure price tag. While the Revo and S8 Pro Ultra base stations offer the same functions, their designs vastly differ. The Revo has a reconfigured base station with a bag relocated to the middle underneath the water containers. However, moving the bag didn't increase the volume dramatically, only getting a 0.2-liter bump over the S8 Pro Ultra. It uses a simpler pad washing module, relying on this tray with these studs to scrub against the 2 pads. The S8 Pro Ultra retains the same framework as the S7 Max V Ultra with the water containers and bag in one row. One variance is a smaller water tank opening, which is a nice add-on for me since you can still hold the handle while filling it with water. The Revo design is different since the whole top opens, so you'll need to hold the lid or container while refilling. One advantage of the wider opening is better access to the inner components during maintenance cleanups. The Revo design is similar to other brands like Ecovacs and Dreamy and offers one huge advantage. Moving the bag frees up more space for larger water containers, 5 liters each to be specific. This nearly doubles the S8 Pro capacity and means fewer trips to the faucet. The next base station variance is the pad washing element. As I've said, the Revo has a simpler design with a tray that the pads scrub against. Since it doesn't have any moving components and is made of high quality plastic, it should easily last the lifetime of the robot vacuum. The S8 Pro Ultra uses a more complex mechanism with a bristle brush component mounted on 2 racks that slide back and forth. One part that will eventually wear out is this brush, and you'll probably have to go through several of these, so that's an added cost to ownership. Surprisingly, the Revo tray was excellent at cleaning the pad since there was no visible residue after several mopping cycles. I said surprising since other brands I've tested with a similar pad washing tray didn't do as well. The S8 Pro bristled pad washing system also removed stains from the pad, but there was visible residue afterward. Given that the Revo has a larger water tank volume, a slightly larger bag capacity, and a simpler pad washing module with 0 running costs that cleans the pad efficiently, the Revo is the clear winner here. Since both robots rely on LiDAR and Roborock's ever-improving algorithm, there's not much variance in how these navigate. The pattern is similar, starting the run going around the edges before moving towards the middle in a back-and-forth pattern. I could superimpose the videos and you wouldn't notice any difference. Both are efficient during a coverage test, completing the run in under 18 minutes, with little variance. But I'd give the slight edge to the Revo since it picked up more after the first pass. Both have similar app features like containment, blocking these robots from going into off-limit areas. Selective room cleaning and zone cleaning are available, so users can ask these robots to clean specific rooms or areas using the scheduling feature to automate the vacuuming task. Another feature aiding their proficiency is the mapping run, taking advantage of LiDAR's 360-degree scanning ability to fast-track map creation. Even with a slight debris pickup advantage, I give both a point in this category since both are even in other aspects of navigation. Another navigation aspect worth noting is obstacle avoidance, which I put in a separate category to avoid confusion. One difference is that the S8 Pro obstacle avoidance sensor has these 2 lasers flanking the front IR sensor, and based on tests, these lasers aid the S8 Pro in identifying obstacles better. But after further evaluating the clips, it's not that much better. Yes, there were instances where it avoided stretch wires, but I'd still tidy up these cables since it wasn't consistent enough. The only advantage I see for the S8 Pro is it completely avoided this weighing scale, whereas the Revo did not. But with other obstacles, both were decent at avoiding them, as long as it's big enough for the IR sensor to detect. Nonetheless, I'd give the S8 Pro Ultra a slight edge since it had a better obstacle detection system, but the difference is insignificant. Based on Roborock's website, the S8 Pro Ultra has more suction at 6,000 pascals, or 500 more than the Revo's 5,500 pascals. So the S8 Pro is the winner in this category, right? One issue with relying on this metric is that not every manufacturer uses it to disclose power. This is where airflow comes in. It's a metric easily measured using an anemometer at a brush roll. No, it's not perfect, but at least we get a baseline and use it to compare with other brands. And based on experiments, high airflow robots tend to perform better with debris pickup. Other factors come into consideration, like brush roll design and seal, which is the case with these robots. Despite having the lower rated airflow, the Revo got higher results, maxing at over 17 CFM, 42% more than the S8 Pro Ultra's max output at 11 CFM. On paper, the Revo wins this category, but this advantage doesn't mean it's that much better at vacuuming floors. Looking at the cleaning test results, you'll immediately notice two things. First, the Revo is much better on hard floors. Second, the S8 Pro Ultra is better on carpets. There are several factors for this. One is airflow, and the next is the brush roll design. The Revo's higher airflow and seal enable it to pick up debris on hard floors more efficiently, especially heavier stuff like sand, while the S8 Pro's twin rollers provide extra agitation on carpet, allowing it to pick up more on this surface. And this is evident in a deep clean experiment, where it got nearly 10% more sand on mid-pile carpet. Both options did well during the edge clean experiment, picking up most of the coffee grounds scattered in this area. However, the low airflow means it can't reach debris on this quarter-inch crevice. Unfortunately, neither option is good at cleaning hair. The S8 Pro got higher percentages, picking up 48.5% on 5-inch strands, doubling the Revo's result, and 24% on 7-inch hair. I'd give the slight edge to the S8 Pro Ultra since it picked up more hair, but ultimately, it's better at cleaning embedded debris with its two-brush system. Next, we'll look at the mopping systems and the test results. The Revo relies on two rotating discs that spin at 200 RPM, 20 RPM more than the dreamy L10S Ultra I reviewed previously. 20 RPM may not sound like a lot, but it's enough to make the Revo more efficient, as evidenced by the test results. I tested it on hard to clean juice stains, and it removed them on the first pass. The S8 Pro Ultra is also efficient thanks to the two vibrating elements on the mopping module. Neither robot stalled during the experiment, an excellent sign of their mopping prowess. Another aspect we'll compare is the pad washing efficiency. Again, the designs vary, with Roborock using a brush that moves side to side to agitate and clean the pad. The Revo relies on this tray with studs, where the pads spin against to clean. Before testing it, I thought the S8 Pro's design was better since it used bristles, which in theory should do a better job at cleaning the pad. However, after testing the Revo, I'm impressed with the results. Apparently, the increased RPM helps with pad cleaning. After several mopping experiments, I saw no residue on the pads, whereas the S8 Pro Ultra had some stains at the edges. The clincher for me is the zero running cost for the Revo, since it relies on a one-piece tray that I don't think will wear out during your robot's lifetime. Another factor is maintenance. The only thing to clean with the Revo is this tray, which is easy since it's detachable. For the S8 Pro Ultra, you'll need to clean this filter and replace the brush when it wears out. With its efficient mopping, pad washing, and almost zero maintenance costs, the Revo is the winner in this category. The Revo and S8 Pro Ultra have the same claimed runtime figure of 180 minutes, thanks to the large capacity 5200 mAh lithium-ion battery. With their high-efficiency navigation, these robots can clean large homes without recharging constantly. The Roborock app has a carpet boost feature where the robot only increases power when it detects carpet. This helps stretch the runtime further since the max setting is only used on demand when it goes over carpets or rugs. So both options get a point. Despite the higher airflow, the Revo is the quieter option, only maxing at less than 63 decibels in the highest power setting, while the S8 Pro exceeded 70 decibels. However, the S8 Pro base station is quieter during the auto-empty cycle, registering 75.1 decibels with a sound meter, while the Revo is closer to 80 decibels. Nonetheless, the Revo takes the nod in this category thanks to its lower robot noise output. Here are some things I noticed while reviewing these robot vacuums. First is the orientation when docked at the base station. The Revo with its rear discs is parked facing backward, meaning there's no direct access to the dustbin. This isn't an issue with the self-emptying feature, but it can be a hassle if you need to clean the dustbin or filter during the maintenance cycles, since you'll need to pull out the robot to access the dustbin. The S8 Pro Ultra's dustbin is easily accessible since it's parked facing forward. Next is the pad cleaning component of the S8 Pro Ultra, which I thought had stiff bristles until I removed it from the base station. Then I realized it wasn't, which is probably why it didn't clean the pads as well. Only the S8 Pro Ultra has the brush roll lift feature where the brush roll assembly lifts in the mopping only cycle, so the brush guard doesn't have any caked on residue even after several mopping cycles. The Revo doesn't have this feature, so there's visible gunk on the brush guard that you'll need to clean. Lastly, the Revo base station has an auto-volt rating, meaning consumers can only use it on 100 to 240 volt power outlets, while the S8 Pro Ultra is only usable with 120 volt outlets. This may be a factor in countries outside North America or if you live in Asia, where most homes only have a 240 volt outlet. As I conclude this comparison, you'll notice that each model has distinct advantages. With its higher airflow and seal, the Revo is better on hard floors, while the S8 Pro Ultra with its second roller is better on carpets. The S8 Pro Ultra is slightly better at obstacle avoidance, thanks to the two laser sensors flanking the IR sensor. But the difference shouldn't be a deciding factor, since the Revo can avoid most of the objects that the S8 Pro does. Other than these, there's not much difference between these models. The biggest deciding factor for me is the price, and why I like the Revo better since it offers more value for your hard-earned dollar. If you've made it this far, I'd like to say thank you and consider giving this video a thumbs up if it's been helpful to you. It goes a long way in growing this channel and reaching more consumers. Subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified when I publish new comparisons like this, like the Revo and S7 Max V Ultra comparison coming soon. The links are down below for more information about these robots, including a detailed comparison on my blog. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.